women are chameleons. Women are absolutely chameleons, and it's actually not a bad thing. Before I get into why being a chameleon is actually a positive attribute that women have, I want to define for you exactly what it is. Merriam-Webster's dictionary defines a chameleon as a person who often changes his or her beliefs or behavior in order to please others or to succeed. Case in point, chameleons are people who are able to adapt and do so very well based upon the situation, the scenario, and the environment they find themselves in. Now, when a woman is operating according to her God-given purpose, and she is under strong leadership, whether it be in a family structure, with her husband, under strong spiritual authority, her ability to adapt and her ability to make the best of a situation can be an incredibly powerful attribute, especially when you are in a family structure. Being able to create and maintain a peaceful environment, no matter the situation and scenario you are in, is a necessary component, especially for men who need a safe place to land. If you're married and your husband, for example, has a job that is very combative or that is very stressful, or he continues to find himself in scenarios where he is high stress, him being able to come home and expect peace is very, very useful. And so this is the positive attribute of being a chameleon, right? You having the ability to be able to adapt to a scenario, you have an ability to be able to mold to an environment, to be able to adapt to an environment so that you can try to create a sense of peace, so that you can minimize any potential for conflict. Your ability to adapt, your ability to mold, your ability to yield and to make the most of that situation is a powerful component and a necessary component for a woman who is looking to create a peaceful place no matter the environment. Even if you think of the idea of being a helpmeet, right? Which is a concept that comes from the Bible, and it comes directly from the story where Adam was tending the garden, and then eventually God created Eve as a way to be a helpmeet to help essentially fulfill the vision that God had given Adam to maintain the garden, right? And so oftentimes what will happen is if a woman finds herself in a God-fearing marriage and a relationship, one of her roles is to help her husband live out his overall purpose, right? It is to help her. It is to be a support mechanism. It is to be an encourager. That is one of her roles as a wife, as a helpmeet. And so again, when you talk about being a chameleon, you're talking about somebody who can adapt to the environment, who can adapt to the different ideas and perspectives. That is an incredibly powerful quality, and that is an essential quality needed to be a helpmeet. This is why I say, yes, we're all chameleons. Yes, we all have that component in us, but it is a beautiful and necessary component when it is done according to God's purpose. The problem happens when a woman is operating outside of God's intended purpose. At that point, a woman being a chameleon can become destructive. She is uncovered, or essentially she's just kind of fending for herself. When a woman is operating according to that survival mechanism, her ability to be a chameleon can actually be destructive because at that point she doesn't have a firm foundation. She doesn't have any principles who are grounding her. When a woman is in a marriage or she's in a strong family structure, she continues to have that powerful reinforcement that is reminding her and that is providing a sense of stability psychologically, emotionally, and even in terms of values. Outside of that setting can become destructive. And this is why, in my opinion, you can and you will see a woman one day being a swirler, 2 weeks later being pro-black, 3 weeks later being a lesbian, 4 weeks later being celibate. Because at that point, the woman isn't connected to anything. There's nothing grounding her. She's missing that foundational piece that's supposed to come first, from God and her family structure and her broader spiritual community. She's missing that, and so she's on her own. And so when I say women are chameleons, I'm not saying that as an insult. Again, I think there's a beautiful aspect of it, but I think what happens when you're in an unhealthy environment, and when you're in an environment such as the United States that is highly competitive, that is very difficult, where many women are facing economic challenges, they're single, and they are fending for themselves, you're going to see people operating in survival mode based upon instincts, and they're going to be drawing upon that which is instinctual, for better or for worse. And as I said, that aspect of femininity, when it's operating according to God's purpose, it is beautiful and it is very powerful. But outside of that, when it's unprotected, And when it's in an unsafe environment, it can be destructive. And it can also be very confusing. That's why I preach and will always preach the importance of a woman establishing a firm foundation with God, also getting connected with a strong spiritual community, understanding and knowing how to get along with men, being in a family structure. Most women aren't meant to be single. I do understand there are those exceptions. There are those women out there who were called to be leaders. I understand that, but that is not most of us. Most women do not have the power or the mental fortitude to be able to lead on their own. They just, my opinion, they don't. I always preach the importance of establishing a strong spiritual foundation with God and also being connected with a strong spiritual community. I'm not talking about the individual spirituality that gives you the ability to be in a corner by yourself, do whatever you want, say whatever you want, and there not be any accountability or no kind of connection with anybody else. No, that goes against the woman's nature, in my opinion. I'm talking about you developing a relationship with God, also connected with other people who are operating according to the same purpose. If you're interested in online communities, check out The Lab. They have some really interesting content on their page, and they talk a lot about spirituality. Understanding and learning how to get along with men, because most women are not called to be single. Most women are actually called to be in a relationship with a man, building a family, and that will help establish, again, a firm foundation and a framework for a woman to operate according to her natural gifts, but it not be overboard. But outside of that, you're going to see a lot of women operating in survival mode. What happens when that's going on? God only knows. At that point, I would say, don't even listen to what they're saying. Watch what they're doing. But what do you think? Do you agree or do you disagree? Let me know. Leave your questions, comments, concerns in the comment section below. Thank you so much for listening if you've gotten this far. And we'll talk later. Bye.